You're about to uncover the destructive daily habits that silently keep most people broke, and exactly how to break free and build millionaire wealth starting today. I didn't grow up around wealth. In my neighborhood, most people worked hard. Some worked brutally hard. Long hours. Multiple jobs. Sacrificing weekends. Always chasing one day. Yet, strangely, most of them stayed broke. Not because they were lazy. Not because they were dumb. But because they were trapped in something far more dangerous. Daily habits that quietly block wealth without anyone noticing. The day I finally saw it, I'll never forget that afternoon. I was sitting in a small diner, having coffee with a mentor who had built multiple businesses and reached financial freedom decades earlier. At that time, I was exhausted. Working 70 hours a week. Barely keeping my business alive. Constantly stressed about money. I asked him bluntly, "What am I doing wrong? I work as hard as anyone I know. Yet it always feels like I'm drowning." He smiled gently, leaned back, and delivered one sentence that changed my life. "It's not what you're doing. It's what you keep doing every single day that you shouldn't. Wealth," he continued, "is not built by addition. It's built by subtraction." The hidden equation of wealth most people obsess over. How to make more. How to work more. How to learn more. They keep stacking. But the people who build true wealth, they eliminate. They eliminate distractions. They eliminate reactive emotions. They eliminate wasteful behaviors. They eliminate unnecessary complexity. Wealth is created when your system becomes clean, simple, and highly effective. And that starts by removing the habits that quietly drain your wealth-building capacity every single day. Why this audiobook exists. That conversation led me down a multi-year journey, studying millionaire routines, observing ultra-successful entrepreneurs, interviewing high-net-worth mentors, tracking my own destructive patterns. I discovered that wealth is not built through secret hacks. It's built through habit engineering. More specifically, through systematically killing the habits that most people carry unknowingly. Habits that sabotage wealth before it ever has a chance to grow. And that's what we're here to do together. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to reprogram you. The invisible nature of destructive habits. Here's what makes this so dangerous. The habits that keep people broke don't feel dangerous at all. Checking your phone 90 times a day feels normal. Avoiding difficult conversations feels harmless. Skipping your budget review this month seems minor. Blaming the market or your boss feels justified. Procrastinating on that idea, just for now, feels small. But stacked over years, these minor leaks become floods. Tiny tolerated habits are the termites that silently destroy financial structures. The millionaire's first superpower, habit awareness. What separates millionaire thinkers from the masses is not just their knowledge. It's their ruthless awareness of small behaviors. They don't allow accidental days, emotional sloppiness, unconscious reactions. Their daily lives are designed with intention. Every action, either white heavy checkmark, moves them closer to wealth, cross mark, or quietly pulls them further from it. Why most people can't see the traps. There are 3 reasons. 1. Normalization. You copy habits from family, friends, coworkers, all struggling with the same patterns. 2. Short-term comfort. Many bad habits feel good immediately. Dopamine wins, but hurt long-term. 3. Lack of feedback loops. Financial damage accumulates slowly, so you don't feel the consequences until years later. If bad financial habits hurt immediately, more people would change faster. But they don't. And so, people remain broke not because they want to, but because they're trapped inside their own blind spots. The toxic myth of working hard. One of the biggest traps that keeps people broke is overglorifying hard work. Working hard in the wrong direction only accelerates failure. Many of the hardest working people I know remain financially stuck because they grind at jobs that cap income. They focus only on active income. They never build scalable systems. They emotionally burn out. Millionaires work hard on the right things, but brutally eliminate wasteful motion. Hashtag the power of subtraction over addition. From my mentor's guidance, I adopted this mantra. Every time I remove a negative habit, I multiply my wealth potential. For example, eliminating impulsive purchases frees capital for investing. Eliminating emotional spending creates financial stability. Eliminating social comparison increases focus on personal growth. Eliminating distraction cycles opens deep work time for wealth-building activities. Every elimination becomes a lever for exponential gain. Hashtag the dangerous nature of small leaks. Here's the painful truth. The habits keeping you broke aren't massive failures. They're tiny tolerated leaks. $8 lattes aren't the problem. The unconscious dopamine seeking behind them is. Checking Instagram isn't fatal, but doing it 30 times a day destroys focus cycles. Procrastinating isn't catastrophic, but repeated over years, it kills opportunity windows. Small hinges swing big doors. Unfortunately, they also lock them. Hashtag the Millionaire's Daily Audit. I was given this simple daily question. Did today's habits build my future net worth or erode it? Simple. Brutal. Transformational. I began tracking hours spent on high-leverage work, dollars allocated toward asset growth, emotional state tracking, energy waste due to distraction. Decision quality score. Awareness always precedes change. Hashtag the habit score multiplier. Through my studies, I built a simple model called the habit score multiplier. Every habit you keep falls into 3 zones. Wealth compounding habits, WCH, directly fuel financial freedom. Neutral habits. Before we dive deeper, I've included some of my favorite wealth-building books and resources in the description. These tools have helped thousands master their mindset. Check them out anytime while you listen. The broke tolerate them. Hashtag the first step toward millionaire thinking. Before you can build, you must clear. You must learn what to subtract. That's what this audiobook series is for. Together we will expose the habits silently sabotaging your wealth. Break down exactly how they operate. Reprogram your mind to eliminate them. Replace them with wealth compounding alternatives. Build the daily rhythm that aligns your identity with financial freedom. Hashtag the millionaire mindset truth. Most people can't handle. You are not broke because you lack knowledge. You are broke because you tolerate the habits that guarantee being broke. Hashtag the journey ahead. Over the next chapters, we will surgically dissect emotional traps, comfort addictions, time mismanagement, psychological self-sabotage, social behaviors that block wealth, thought patterns that quietly drain financial energy. Hashtag your mission. As you listen, adopt this posture. Brutal honesty. Zero defensiveness. Complete ownership. Because at the end of this journey, you will no longer try to get rich. You will simply be incapable of living in any pattern that doesn't create wealth. That's how millionaires operate. They build lives where wealth is not a goal, it's an automatic byproduct of their daily identity. It was never the bad investments. It was never the risky business moves. It was never even the external economy. When I finally audited my financial failures, one ugly truth stood out. Emotional habits, not financial knowledge, had drained more of my wealth than any bad decision ever could. This is where most people remain completely blind. They believe wealth is built through math. But in reality, wealth is built, or lost, through emotion. Today, we expose the first silent killer that keeps people broke: destructive emotional patterns. Hashtag the emotional wealth equation. Every financial decision has 2 layers. Keycap 1, the external logic. Keycap 2, the internal emotion. Most people make emotional decisions, and then reverse engineer logic to justify them. It felt like the right investment. I just had to buy it. It was on sale. I'll deal with that debt later. I deserve this after the week I've had. Emotion first. Logic second. Wealth destruction third. Hashtag the day I lost $40,000. Emotionally, let me share my most painful wealth lesson. Early in my business, I faced a cash flow squeeze. Stress skyrocketed. Fear clouded my judgment. Anxiety led me to seek quick fixes. I rushed into a partnership deal I knew, deep down, wasn't aligned, because emotionally, I just wanted the temporary relief. The paperwork was sloppy. The terms were aggressive. The partner was unstable. I justified it emotionally. At least I'll survive this month. 6 months later, that partner defaulted. I ate legal fees. Lost capital. Lost time. Lost trust. $40,000 vanished, not because of ignorance, but because of emotion. #Why emotional habits are more dangerous than bad math. You can recover from bad math. Miscalculations can be corrected. Wrong spreadsheets can be fixed. But emotional habits, reproduce daily, compound silently, trigger self-sabotage, corrupt every decision-making system. Emotional leaks destroy wealth before math even starts working. #The 5 most common emotional wealth killers. Through my years of study, these 5 emotional patterns emerged as the most destructive. Keycap 1 Impulse gratification, Keycap 2 Fear-based decision-making, Keycap 3 Shame spending, Keycap 4 Social comparison triggers, Keycap 5 Avoidance procrastination. Let's dissect each one. Keycap 1 #Impulse gratification. The dopamine drain. Every app, ad, and platform you engage with is designed for one thing: instant dopamine hits. Flash sales. One-click buy. Notifications. Artificial scarcity. Act now. Limited time. Don't miss out. Millionaire thinkers reject this programming. They reverse the impulse loop. Instead of seeking emotional relief, they seek long-term payoff. Delayed gratification. Controlled response cycles. They've trained themselves to feel more pleasure from discipline than from indulgence. The 72-hour rule. One simple rule transformed my impulse behavior. No unplanned purchases without a 72-hour cooling period. I add desired purchases to a list. Wait 3 days. Reevaluate. In 80% of cases, the emotional pull fades. I no longer want the item. The capital stays invested instead of wasted. Keycap 2 #Fear-based decision-making. The scarcity loop. When fear dominates your financial psychology, you underinvest. You oversave in cash. You hesitate on opportunities. You stay small, safe, and trapped. Millionaire thinkers embrace calculated courage. Fear is not a stop sign. Fear is a signal to analyze, then execute strategically. They operate from abundance frameworks. Money flows where value is created. Opportunity expands for those who build skills. Risk is managed, not avoided. Keycap 3 Shame spending. The emotional debt spiral. Many people subconsciously punish themselves financially, overspending to feel better, justifying luxury as self-care, hiding financial struggles with external image upgrades. I deserve this after my bad week. I need this to feel better. This creates rising debt, emotional cycles of guilt, deepening financial instability. Millionaire thinkers separate emotion from spending. Purchases serve strategy, not emotion. Self-worth is not tied to consumption. Joy is created internally, not bought externally. Keycap 4 #Social comparison triggers. The invisible envy tax. Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Comparison platforms disguised as entertainment. Every scroll subtly says, "You're behind." This triggers reactionary purchases, status-seeking behavior, FOMO investing, insecurity-fueled business moves. Millionaire thinkers limit comparison exposure. I compete with my past self, not curated strangers. Their wealth grows because their focus stays internal. Skill growth, asset building, value creation. Keycap 5 #Avoidance procrastination. The silent wealth leak. Most wealth-destroying decisions happen through avoidance. Avoiding financial reviews, delaying tax optimization, postponing debt restructuring, ignoring business pivots. Millionaire thinkers practice ruthless confrontation. What I avoid compounds negatively. What I confront compounds positively. Every delay has a cost. Lost opportunities. Increased penalties. Compounding interest. Deteriorating relationships. Hashtag the emotional discipline system. To break free from these destructive patterns, I built an emotional discipline system. Daily, morning breath work, 3 minutes. Daily financial dashboard check-in, 2 minutes. Emotional state journal entry, 1 minute. Weekly, wealth review, income, expenses, investments, fear exposure exercise, small discomfort zone actions, monthly. Financial growth scorecard audit, emotional trigger reflection. Small consistent audits build massive emotional stability. Hashtag the day I finally controlled my emotional system. Years after that $40,000 loss, I faced another massive deal. High pressure. Multiple unknowns. Significant capital risk. But this time, my emotions were stable. My decisions were clear. My frameworks guided my moves. I negotiated from strength, and walked away with a 7-figure opportunity that changed my business trajectory. Not because I became smarter, but because I became emotionally stronger. Hashtag why most people stay financially volatile. They chase emotional highs. They avoid discomfort. They justify irrational spending. They seek external validation. They mistake feelings for facts. Millionaire thinkers reverse this. Emotion obeys strategy, not the other way around. Hashtag the millionaire emotional code. Delay gratification. Confront fears directly. Audit emotional spending triggers. Limit comparison exposure. Operate from process, not panic. Hashtag the brutal truth. Your bank account reflects your emotional operating system far more than your income level. Fix your emotions. Wealth follows automatically. There was a time in my life when I was constantly busy. My calendar looked full. My to-do lists were long. My mind raced every day. But my wealth? Stagnant. No growth. No major moves. No real momentum. It wasn't because I didn't have goals. It wasn't because I wasn't working hard. It was because I was trapped inside the invisible triad that quietly kills wealth: procrastination, overthinking, fear. And most people live inside this trap their entire lives without even realizing it. Today, we break it open. Hashtag the invisible nature of wealth destruction. Wealth is not lost in one giant catastrophic failure. Wealth is lost in millions of micro decisions you never made. The business you never launched. The investment you delayed. The conversation you avoided. The pivot you knew was necessary but never pulled. Hashtag the day I saw my own patterns. I was journaling late one night after yet another stressful week. The partnership idea I'd been thinking about for 6 months. The investment opportunity one kept researching but hadn't executed. The product pivot I knew was necessary but kept postponing. Page after page, I saw the same pattern: waiting. 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 Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I was trapped inside mental loops that paralyzed action. Hashtag the deadly wealth equation. Overthinking equals delayed action equals lost opportunities equals lost wealth. Hashtag why overthinking feels productive. Here's the trap. You convince yourself you're being thorough. You call it due diligence. You feel like you're being smart for not rushing. But in reality, endless planning is often disguised procrastination fueled by fear. Once I'm 100% certain, then I'll move. That day never comes. Hashtag perfectionism. The mask of fear. Perfectionism is one of the most destructive habits for wealth builders. It tells you you're not ready. It whispers that you need more research. It convinces you that waiting is wise. Millionaires think differently. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. Speed of implementation is a multiplier. Hashtag the opportunity cost. People never calculate every decision you delay has a price. The deal that went to someone else. The market that moved. The skill you could have developed sooner. The compounding returns you missed. Procrastination compounds against you. Hashtag the fear behind the fear at its core. Overthinking and procrastination are not logic problems, they're emotional problems. Fear of being wrong. Fear of failure. Fear of embarrassment. Fear of wasted effort. But here's the paradox. You cannot avoid failure by delaying. You only guarantee failure by never starting. Hashtag the millionaire's mental shift. Wealth builders operate from this belief. Action teaches faster than thought. They prioritize fast test lunches, minimum viable investments, quick feedback loops, iterative learning. They don't seek to eliminate risk completely. They seek to reduce risk exposure while still moving forward. The 70% rule. One of my millionaire mentors gave me this framework. If I have 70% of the information I need, I move. Why? The remaining 30% often becomes clear only after you start. Waiting for 100% certainty usually means you're too late. Start. Adjust. Scale. Hashtag procrastination. The false safety net. Most people procrastinate because starting feels risky. Waiting feels safe. But what they don't realize is, waiting creates invisible losses that feel less painful in the short term, but far more devastating long term. By the time you notice the loss, years have already passed. Hashtag the psychological addiction to overthinking. Your brain loves the chemical comfort of planning. It gives you the illusion of progress. It tricks you into feeling productive. It allows you to avoid emotional discomfort. Planning feels good. Execution feels scary. That's why most people live their lives perpetually getting ready. Hashtag the 5-step millionaire action filter. To break my own pattern, I developed a filter I still use daily. Keycap 1. Is this decision reversible? If yes, move faster. Keycap 2. Can I get real feedback only by doing? If yes, stop theorizing. Keycap 3. Will delay cost me future options? If yes, prioritize action. Keycap 4. Is my hesitation based on emotion, not logic? If yes, neutralize with facts. Keycap 5. Will starting teach me more than waiting? If yes, start immediately. Hashtag the compound effect of small actions. I started executing small, fast moves, micro tests of new products. Small initial investments to learn markets. Quick uncomfortable conversations to resolve issues. 24-hour decision cycles for non-critical choices. Small moves stacked daily created momentum. Before we dive deeper, I've included some of my favorite wealth-building books and resources in the description. These tools have helped thousands master their mindset. Check them out anytime while you listen. L presented itself unexpectedly. Previously, I would have analyzed it for months. But using my action filter, the risk was capped. The upside was clear. The timing was critical. I executed within 72 hours. That deal opened doors that would have been locked if I had waited. Speed created serendipity. Serendipity created wealth. Hashtag why most people remain stuck forever. They believe clarity precedes action. They fear looking foolish. They confuse thinking with doing. They seek permission to start. Millionaires reverse it. Action creates clarity. Doing creates expertise. Results create credibility. The millionaire anti-procrastination code. Speed is a skill. Action beats analysis. Failure teaches faster than theory. Done is better than perfect. Move first. Refine later. Hashtag the brutal wealth truth. Every delayed decision costs you an invisible fortune. Wealth is built through momentum. Momentum is built through execution. For a long time, I believed I was making progress. My income was stable. My life was predictable. My routines felt safe. But one day, while reviewing my goals, I saw the ugly truth. I hadn't grown in 3 years. Not because I was incapable. Not because I lacked opportunities. Because I was trapped inside what I call the comfortable poor. This is one of the most dangerous states a person can live in. You're not broke enough to feel desperate. You're not wealthy enough to feel free. You're trapped in comfort, and that comfort is keeping you broke. Today, we break open one of the most invisible, lethal wealth-killing habits: Toxic comfort zones. Hashtag the subtle danger of comfort. Comfort doesn't scream like failure. Comfort whispers, "You're doing fine. Things aren't that bad. You have time. Why take risks when you're already okay?" But slowly, day by day, it robs you of urgency, growth, ambition, innovation. Comfort sedates. Comfort delays. Comfort kills wealth. Hashtag the day comfort almost cost me everything in my early business years. I landed a few reliable clients. They paid on time. The work was steady. My bills were covered. I relaxed. Once I'm less busy, I'll go after bigger deals. Right now, I just need stability. Years passed. My skills plateaued. My network stagnated. My income flatlined. Then one of my anchor clients collapsed. Within 90 days, I was scrambling to survive. My comfort had built no systems. My comfort had built no leverage. My comfort had quietly kept me poor. Hashtag the myth of stable income. Most people chase what they call security, fixed salaries, predictable routines, minimal stress environments. But here's what they don't see. Stability often equals income ceilings. Income ceilings create wealth stagnation. Stagnation compounds into lifelong financial struggle. Millionaire thinkers think differently. They pursue controlled instability. They seek skill growth under pressure. They expand comfort zones strategically. Hashtag the 3 layers of comfort that keep people poor. Through years of studying this, I identified 3 toxic comfort layers. Keycap 1 mental comfort, avoiding intellectual challenges. Keycap 2 social comfort, surrounding yourself with non-growing peers. Keycap 3 financial comfort, operating at just enough income levels. Keycap 1 hashtag mental comfort, the death of growth thinking, reading only familiar topics. Avoiding new, complex learning curves. Staying inside old skill sets. Mental laziness is often disguised as focus. Millionaires force mental discomfort, learning new industries, studying financial instruments, challenging old beliefs, hiring smarter mentors. Growth requires intellectual friction. Keycap 2 hashtag social comfort, the peer group trap. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Social comfort looks like friends who validate mediocrity, conversations avoiding ambition, zero accountability for bigger moves. Comfortable poor people protect each other from growth by justifying stagnation. Millionaire thinkers curate proximity, high-performance networks, mastermind groups, mentorship relationships, brutal accountability partners. You cannot outgrow a small circle. Keycap 3 hashtag financial comfort, the "I make enough" lie. The most dangerous income level isn't poverty. It's what I call survivable comfort. Bills get paid. Lifestyle feels decent. Pressure feels manageable. This is the income zone that slowly suffocates ambition. Millionaires constantly audit: is my income growing? Is my wealth compounding? Am I building scalable systems? Am I positioning for economic shifts? Comfort breeds entitlement. Growth requires hunger. Hashtag the biology behind comfort addiction. Your brain is wired for survival, not wealth. Comfort signals safety. Discomfort triggers fear. But millionaires train themselves to reverse this. Discomfort equals growth trigger. Comfort equals danger signal. They build what I call discomfort conditioning. Hashtag the discomfort conditioning system. Keycap 1 daily micro discomforts. Cold exposure, uncomfortable conversations, new business experiments, skill learning outside current expertise. Keycap 2 monthly risk evaluations. Identify one area where playing safe is limiting growth. Design a controlled risk experiment. Keycap 3 quarterly comfort zone audits. Where am I coasting? Where am I avoiding stretch moves? Where am I protecting comfort over wealth? Discomfort is a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger your growth capacity becomes. Hashtag the comfort ceiling test. Ask yourself today, Are my daily routines expanding my wealth capacity? Or simply maintaining survival? Maintenance is poverty disguised as progress. The day I broke my own comfort ceiling. At one point, I was offered an opportunity to partner on a much larger scale than I'd ever operated. The deal scared me. The complexity intimidated me. The exposure risk triggered fear. Old me would have retreated into comfort. Maybe next year. Instead, I ran my discomfort conditioning checklist. Could I learn fast enough? Could I control worst-case scenarios? Would growth outpace risk over time? I stepped in. That deal tripled my wealth in under 24 months. Not because it was easy. Because I finally broke the comfort ceiling. Why most people stay stuck forever. They confuse comfort with security. They fear temporary pain. They protect current identity over future potential. They avoid short-term discomfort that would produce long-term wealth. Millionaire thinkers invert this. I seek discomfort strategically because my wealth lives on the other side of it. The millionaire comfort equation. Comfort equals slow decay. Discomfort equals accelerated growth. The longer you avoid discomfort, the poorer you stay. The brutal wealth truth: your comfort zone is perfectly designed to produce your current financial reality. To change your wealth, you must first change your comfort thresholds. If you were to ask me which single habit silently keeps more people broke today than almost any other, I wouldn't hesitate. Comparison. Not debt. Not lack of opportunity. Not education. Comparison. And its poisonous twin? Envy. We live in a world perfectly engineered to feed these two wealth-destroying emotions 24 hours a day. Social media. Influencer culture. Fake highlight reels. Curated lifestyles. While you're busy watching someone else's life, you're neglecting your own. Today, we dissect one of the most lethal daily habits that keeps millions financially trapped, often for life. The day comparison almost destroyed my business. I was 2 years into my entrepreneurial journey. Things were finally stable, revenue was steady. Team was growing. Clients were happy. Then I made a mistake. I started obsessively watching my competitors. Their revenue claims. Their social media followers. Their speaking gigs. Their luxury vacations. The more I watched, the more restless I became. Why am I not growing faster? Maybe I'm behind. Maybe I need to pivot. Maybe I should copy them. That comparison triggered a series of rushed decisions. I expanded too fast. I invested in areas that didn't fit my business model. I chased trends instead of optimizing my own systems. 6 months later, I was exhausted, financially stretched, and dangerously close to collapse. Comparison almost killed my momentum. Comparison almost killed my business. Comparison almost killed my wealth. The truth about modern comparison traps. The internet has weaponized comparison. You're bombarded by curated highlight reels. You're exposed to fake success metrics. You're emotionally triggered by things that don't even reflect reality. You're comparing your raw, unfiltered journey to someone else's edited highlights. The psychological mechanics behind comparison. Comparison activates several destructive psychological loops. Scarcity mindset. There's not enough for me. Status anxiety. I'm falling behind. Imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. Reactive decision making. I need to catch up. Every one of these destroys the calm, strategic mindset required for wealth creation. Wealth requires focus. Comparison shatters focus. The lie behind what you see. What most people don't realize is, much of the success you see is exaggerated. Much of the wealth flaunted is leveraged debt. Much of the lifestyle flexing is rented, borrowed, or staged. Much of the happiness displayed is performed for views. You're comparing your reality to someone else's illusion. Millionaire thinkers see through this game. I care only about my numbers, my growth, and my mission, not their projection. Envy, the silent wealth assassin. Comparison often breeds its darker cousin, envy. Envy whispers, they don't deserve it. It should be me. They got lucky. If I had their connections, I'd be ahead too. Envy does 3 lethal things. Keycap 1 shifts your focus to others. Keycap 2 destroys gratitude for what you've built. Keycap 3 breeds resentment that poisons future partnerships. No one builds wealth while resenting those who have it. Hashtag the millionaire's comparison rule. I was taught this simple but brutal rule. Compare only to your own potential, not to other people's timelines. Your focus belongs on your skill growth, your system improvement, your financial discipline, your network expansion, your business architecture. Progress is measured against your trajectory, not their highlight reel. Hashtag the compounding cost of comparison. While you're scrolling and comparing, others are executing. Others are compounding skills. Others are building leverage. Others are stacking assets. Comparison not only wastes emotional energy, it steals time. And lost time equals lost wealth. Hashtag the comparison cleanse. I implemented to reclaim my wealth focus. I executed a full comparison detox. Keycap 1 social media audit. Unfollowed anyone triggering status anxiety. Muted non-relevant content feeds. Limited social media to scheduled business growth windows. Keycap 2 financial isolation. Stopped asking peers about revenue or personal net worth. Measured only against my quarterly targets. Keycap 3 focused inputs. Consumed only growth content, mentorships, business models, financial strategies. Blocked entertainment disguised as business inspiration. Keycap 4 gratitude anchoring. Daily gratitude for progress already achieved. Weekly reflection on skills and systems built. Hashtag the day my wealth growth accelerated. Once I eliminated comparison triggers, my strategic decisions sharpened. My risk tolerance stabilized. My emotional volatility dropped. My team alignment improved. Within 18 months, my revenue doubled, not because I copied others, but because I maximized my own game. Wealth builders compete against systems, not people. Hashtag why most people remain financially distracted. They believe external success validates self-worth. They consume highlight reels instead of building skill sets. They chase trends over timeless principles. They define progress by what others are flaunting. Millionaire thinkers invert this. I build quietly while others perform loudly. Hashtag the millionaire anti-comparison code. Blind yourself to irrelevant metrics. Obsess over your personal wealth architecture. Anchor progress to skill, not status. Detach worth from timelines. Protect your mental bandwidth ruthlessly. There's a brutal truth I learned far too late. Broke people spend time. Millionaires invest time. Not because they have more hours in a day. Not because they're superhuman. But because they see time completely differently than most people do. Today, we're going to expose the invisible daily habits that quietly rob your time, destroy your focus, and keep you trapped far below your wealth potential. These aren't big, obvious mistakes. These are silent leaks that compound every single day. Hashtag the day I realized I was leaking time like a broken pipe. It was a regular Thursday. I woke up at 7 a.m., thinking I had a full day of work. But by 9 p.m., after 14 hours awake, I looked back and realized I had 3 shallow meetings that went nowhere. I answered dozens of emails that produced no leverage. I responded to social media comments out of habit. I handled 2 client fires that could have been delegated. I spent nearly 3 hours total on random phone scrolling. 14 hours burned. 12 of them produced no wealth whatsoever. It wasn't that I was lazy. It was that I was operating like most people, emotionally reactive, not strategically invested. Hashtag the millionaire's core time belief. Time is the most valuable, non-renewable currency you possess. You can recover lost money. You can rebuild lost businesses. You cannot reclaim lost hours. Millionaires master wealth because they master time first. They buy back time at every possible level. Hashtag the 4 invisible time killers. Through years of auditing my own routines, and those of many high-level entrepreneurs, I identified 4 toxic daily habits that destroy time leverage. Keycap 1 Reactive Availability, Keycap 2 Low Leverage Busyness, Keycap 3 Unfiltered Access, Keycap 4 Mental Context Switching, Keycap 1 Reactive Availability. The silent killer of focus. Broke people pride themselves on always being available, constantly answering calls, rapid fire responding to texts, checking email 100 times a day, reacting instantly to every notification. This creates shattered focus windows, shallow problem solving, chronic task switching fatigue, zero momentum for deep wealth building work. Availability is not a sign of importance, it's often a sign of weak boundaries. Millionaires invert this. My availability is earned, not assumed. Keycap 2 Low Leverage Busyness. The productivity illusion. Most people are addicted to looking busy, endless research, unnecessary meetings, overthinking minor decisions, task lists filled with non-critical items. Activity is not progress. Millionaires audit tasks by ROI per hour, delegation potential, automation feasibility, elimination value. If a task doesn't directly drive wealth or strategic leverage, it's either outsourced or eliminated. Keycap 3 Unfiltered Access. The network drain. Many people say yes to every meeting invite, enter every group chat, join every networking event, allow random people to schedule their time. This leads to constant energy leaks, exposure to people who add no value, wasted time managing unnecessary relationships. Millionaires curate strategic mastermind circles, high-value mentorships, limited, intentional interactions. They protect time like their wealth depends on it, because it does. Keycap 4 Mental Context Switching. The focus tax. Every time you switch tasks, your brain takes 15 to 25 minutes to fully re-engage. Cognitive energy depletes rapidly. Decision quality erodes. Answering emails between strategy work. Jumping from deep work to Slack chats. Juggling multiple businesses simultaneously. Context switching quietly murders productivity. Millionaire's structure. Dedicated deep work blocks. Controlled communication windows. Task batching by cognitive load. The Millionaire Time Multiplication System. After painful self-auditing, I built a system to reclaim my wealth-building time. Keycap 1 Blocked work windows. 90 to 120-minute deep work sprints. No phone, email, or notifications. Focused only on wealth compounding tasks. Keycap 2 Communication Batching. 2 to 3 dedicated windows per day for messages, calls, and emails. Zero response outside of scheduled times. Keycap 3 Task Elimination Audit Weekly Review. What can be deleted, delegated, or automated? Keycap 4 Weekly Wealth Planning. Every Sunday night, review upcoming leverage moves. Align time with long-term wealth targets. Pre-prioritize high-value projects. The day my wealth curve shifted. Once I reclaimed my time, my decision-making sharpened. My businesses scaled faster. My personal energy stabilized. My income grew exponentially, without increasing hours. Because finally, I was no longer spending time. I was multiplying time. Why most people stay time poor forever. They confuse being busy with being productive. They feel guilty for saying no. They fear missing out on low-value opportunities. They seek external validation through responsiveness. Millionaire thinkers operate differently. I do only what compounds. Everything else is handled or eliminated. The brutal wealth truth. Every hour wasted is not just lost, it's compounded into lost future wealth. Broke people trade time for money. Millionaires trade money to buy back time. If I had to name the most invisible, yet most powerful, force that silently blocks people from building wealth, it's not lack of intelligence. It's not lack of opportunity. It's not even bad habits. It's ego. And not the loud, arrogant ego you easily spot, but the quiet, subtle, destructive kind that whispers to you daily, I already know this. That advice doesn't apply to me. I don't need help. I'm smarter than they are. Ego is the voice that keeps you broke, while making you feel good about it. Hashtag the day my ego nearly destroyed my business in my third year of building my company. I reached a plateau. Revenue was stuck. My team was frustrated. Opportunities were shrinking. A mentor offered feedback. You need help. You're bottlenecking your own growth. Inside my head, my ego flared. I know what I'm doing. They don't understand my industry. I've built this myself. I don't need outside input. The truth? I was terrified of admitting I didn't have all the answers. I delayed asking for help for over a year. By the time I finally accepted outside advisory, I had lost momentum and revenue that took years to recover. Hashtag the nature of the ego trap. Ego whispers two lethal lies. Before we dive deeper, I've included some of my favorite wealth-building books and resources in the description. These tools have helped thousands master their mindset. Check them out anytime while you listen. Ugh. Lie blocks learning new models. Ignores feedback that could save years. Overvalues personal opinions over proven data. Every wealth builder I've studied remains a student, always. Millionaires think, the more I grow, the more I realize how much I don't know. Hashtag the I should already be ahead. Lie creates shame cycles. Fuels defensive decisions. Chases shortcuts to catch up. Fosters resentment toward others succeeding faster. Millionaires think, I measure only against my personal trajectory, not artificial timelines. Hashtag ego's 3 most destructive patterns. After years of observing wealthy and broke minds alike, I identified 3 deadly ego patterns. Keycap 1 Learning blockers. Keycap 2 Feedback defensiveness. Keycap 3 Delegation resistance. Keycap 1 Hashtag learning blockers. Ego refuses new mentors. Uncomfortable skill upgrades. Admitting blind spots. Millionaires invert this. They hire mentors smarter than themselves. They embrace being wrong quickly. They run toward what they don't yet understand. Ignorance protected by ego keeps you broke. Ignorance confronted with humility makes you rich. Keycap 2 Hashtag Feedback defensiveness. Ego views feedback as personal attack. They're criticizing me. They don't get my vision. They're just jealous. Millionaires crave feedback. Every critique contains data. Extract the data. Discard the emotion. They seek brutal advisors. They value course correction over ego protection. They celebrate adjustments, not perfection. Keycap 3 Hashtag Delegation resistance. Ego says, no one can do it like me. I need to control everything. I can't trust others fully. Result? Bottlenecked growth. Burnout. Missed scalability. Millionaires delegate aggressively, hire world-class operators. Empower systems to replace themselves. Focus only on highest leverage decisions. If I must do everything myself, my wealth will always be limited to my personal capacity. Hashtag the anti-ego daily practice. To kill my own ego habits, I installed daily questions. Keycap 1 What do I need to learn today? Keycap 2 Where am I resisting feedback? Keycap 3 Who can do this better than me? Keycap 4 What am I protecting emotionally that's blocking my growth? Awareness precedes humility. Humility precedes wealth. Hashtag the day I fully humbled my leadership. A multi-million-dollar partnership opportunity landed in front of me. The deal was larger, more complex, and involved systems I didn't fully understand. Old ego would have tried to figure it out myself. Instead, I hired advisors, brought in technical experts, admitted my gaps openly. The result? The deal closed. The partnership flourished. The business scaled faster than I could have done alone. Hashtag why most people remain financially stuck. They value being right over being rich. They protect ego over acquiring wisdom. They defend identity over adapting skill sets. They avoid mentors who challenge comfort. Millionaires invert this. I would rather feel temporarily foolish than permanently broke. Hashtag the Millionaire Anti-Ego Code. Seek people who expose your gaps. Honor truth over comfort. Detach identity from current skill levels. Master the art of public humility. Hire people smarter than you without insecurity. Hashtag the brutal wealth truth. The size of your wealth will rarely exceed the size of your humility. Discipline. The word itself triggers different emotions in people. For most, it feels heavy, harsh, restrictive. For the average person trying to build wealth, they often confuse discipline with more work, more sacrifice, more hours, more stress. But here's what I finally learned from my wealth mentors. Millionaire discipline is not about adding more, it's about subtracting what no longer serves. True discipline is about elimination. What you refuse to do will build your wealth far faster than what you attempt to pile on top. Hashtag the day discipline finally made sense to me. For years, I believed I was disciplined. 16-hour workdays, non-stop emails, hustle culture nonsense. And yet, I wasn't building wealth at the level I knew was possible. I was busy. I was tired. I was trapped. Then a mentor said something that shifted everything. Discipline isn't what you do. Discipline is what you're willing to stop. He handed me a list. A simple list that I've now come to call the Millionaire Discipline Switch. Hashtag the core discipline shift. Wealth is not built by stacking more on your plate. It's built by simplification, focus, boundaries, elimination. The broke man keeps saying, yes. The wealthy man masters the no. Hashtag the 10 toxic habits millionaires eliminate. First, if you eliminate these starting today, your wealth trajectory will shift permanently. Keycap 1. The need to explain every decision. Broke people over-explain. They seek validation. They argue for their limitations. Millionaires make decisions based on principle, not public approval. They trust their frameworks. They allow results to validate choices. Keycap 2. The addiction to notifications. Constantly checking phones. Dopamine-driven distraction cycles. Millionaires design their digital life. No notifications except for critical team or family. Scheduled response windows. Focused work time protected like gold. Keycap 3. The drama of other people's problems. Gossip. Family drama. Friend group chaos. Millionaires stay emotionally detached from non-wealth building issues. They offer wisdom when asked. They refuse emotional entanglement in endless small fires. Keycap 4. The urge to win every argument. Debating online. Proving strangers wrong. Wasting energy defending opinions. Millionaires value outcomes over being right. They let fools argue while they build leverage. Keycap 5. The I deserve it spending mentality. Emotional rewards after hard days. Unplanned luxury purchases. Lifestyle creep. Millionaires delay gratification intentionally. Purchases follow asset growth, not emotion. Keycap 6. The fear of hiring people smarter than themselves. Insecurity leads many to control everything. Millionaires hire top talent early. Pay for competence. Free their time for vision and scaling. Know that being the smartest limits the company. Keycap 7. The belief that hard work alone builds wealth. Grinding endlessly. Romanticizing struggle. Millionaires shift from effort-based to system-based wealth. They build processes. They scale teams. They install automation. Keycap 8. The tolerance of vague goals. I want to make more. I hope to grow this year. Millionaires set ruthless, specific targets. Revenue numbers. Cash flow projections. Net worth benchmarks. Daily scorecards. Ambiguity kills accountability. Keycap 9. The chasing of every new opportunity. Jumping from business to business. Chasing trends. Millionaires stack layers inside one focused wealth engine. They master one lane. Extract maximum depth before expanding sideways. Keycap 10. The consumption of low-quality information. Clickbait financial advice. Get rich quick. Garbage. Endless contradictory noise. Millionaires curate knowledge inputs ruthlessly. Pay for elite coaching. Follow proven operators. Limit exposure to entertainment disguised as education. Hashtag the millionaires do not do list. Here's what I read every morning. I do not explain my moves to non-builders. I do not debate fools. I do not emotionally spend. I do not tolerate distractions. I do not hire based on comfort. I do not operate without clear numbers. I do not chase randomness. I do not consume low-level advice. This is millionaire discipline. Hashtag the cost of undisciplined days. 1 day of emotional spending can erase months of compound returns. 1 year of business distraction can cost a decade of growth. 1 hour lost daily to low-leverage activity compounds into hundreds of lost hours annually. 1 toxic relationship maintained can destroy years of emotional stability. Discipline is not harsh. Discipline is freedom. Freedom to build. Freedom to scale. Freedom to buy back your life. Hashtag the discipline leverage flywheel. Once these eliminations lock in, wealth accelerates. Decision fatigue vanishes. Focus sharpens. Execution becomes automatic. Discipline creates momentum. Momentum compounds into generational wealth. Why most people refuse this discipline? They fear short-term discomfort. They crave immediate validation. They attach identity to old habits. They confuse sacrifice with suffering. Millionaire thinkers invert this. I suffer briefly to build freedom permanently. Hashtag the brutal wealth truth. Most people don't fail to build wealth because of what they're missing. They fail because of what they refuse to stop doing. I used to believe wealth was purely external. Business models, investments, market timing, connections. But as my mentors pulled me deeper into their world, they revealed something more dangerous, more powerful, and far more overlooked. Your wealth ceiling lives in your mind. And most people have polluted mental operating systems. You don't rise to your ambition. You fall to your programming. Today, we enter one of the most brutal but freeing realities in wealth building. You must detox your mind before you can scale your net worth. The day my mindset nearly destroyed my wealth, I was scaling fast. Clients were stacking. Revenue was growing. Partnerships were expanding. But under the surface, my stress levels were rising. My confidence wavered. My decision-making began wobbling. I felt like an imposter inside my own success. Then my mentor said, "Your business isn't unstable. Your mind is." He pointed to the real problem. Old scarcity beliefs. Guilt about earning more than my parents. Fear of losing what I built. Emotional triggers tied to childhood programming. The real war was inside my head, not outside my business. Hashtag the nature of mental wealth pollution. Error in message stream. You said, 1 ChatGPT said, Part 9, Daily Mental Detox, Rewiring Your Mindset for Wealth, continued, audiobook narration style, personal storytelling. Hashtag the nature of mental wealth pollution. Your mind is not neutral. From childhood forward, you're constantly absorbing beliefs about money, success, risk, failure, self-worth. Most of these were installed before you ever chose them. Parents, teachers, media, culture, all programming you quietly, daily. By adulthood, most people operate on a completely corrupted mental code. Money is scarce. Rich people are greedy. Success requires luck. Wealth will ruin your relationships. You're not the kind of person who makes that much. And worst of all, I don't deserve to win at that level. Hashtag the silent war you don't see. Every time you try to scale, your internal programming fights back. Your old identity resists. Your comfort zone activates defense mode. It's not a knowledge problem, it's a nervous system problem. You know what to do. You know what actions would grow your wealth. Yet you freeze, delay, self-sabotage, or shrink when the opportunities come. Hashtag the wealth identity conflict. I discovered a simple but brutal truth. You cannot sustainably out-earn your self-concept. Your wealth level will always regress to the level your subconscious believes you deserve. If you see yourself as a $60,000 per year person, you'll sabotage at $100,000. If you see yourself as a six-figure person, you'll sabotage at 7. If you see yourself as an operator, you'll resist becoming an owner. Your nervous system always protects identity first. Even at the cost of wealth. Hashtag the millionaire identity formula. Every wealthy person I studied had performed this same internal work, whether consciously or not. Keycap 1. Detect inherited beliefs. Keycap 2. Deconstruct emotional triggers. Keycap 3. Reprogram wealth identity. Keycap 1. Hashtag detect inherited beliefs. I sat down and wrote every belief I carried about money. It shocked me. Money is hard to keep. Too much wealth creates enemies. Wealth will distance me from my family. I shouldn't make more than my father ever did. I'll lose friends if I scale too far. None of these were objectively true. They were simply installed through years of emotional conditioning. Keycap 2. Hashtag deconstruct emotional triggers. Wealth triggers emotional flashpoints. Guilt, fear of judgment, fear of abandonment, fear of failure, fear of visibility. I had to confront. Who am I protecting by playing small? My parents' comfort? My old friends' expectations? My own fear of losing control? Every time I tried to scale, these invisible emotional brakes activated. Keycap 3. Hashtag reprogram wealth identity. Once detected, I installed new codes, slowly, deliberately, daily. Wealth allows me to serve bigger. Growth honors my family by breaking generational patterns. My network upgrades as my standards elevate. I am built to handle high levels of responsibility. Abundance is my natural state. New identity precedes new income levels. Hashtag the daily mental detox practice. Here's the exact system I built and still run daily. Morning identity anchoring. 5 minutes. Speak my new identity statements aloud. Visualize operating at my next income level with full emotional calm. Daily emotional audit. 1-minute check-ins. Where did I feel financial tension today? Was it logical or emotional? What belief triggered it? Weekly wealth programming. Study 1 piece of advanced wealth content. Journal new frames that expand possibility. Monthly environmental review. Who am I spending time with? Are they expanding or contracting my identity ceiling? Hashtag the day my mind finally matched my ambition. I remember the first time I sat in a multi-million-dollar deal negotiation and felt calm. No nervous sweats. No self-sabotage. No guilt. I realized my nervous system had finally caught up to my goals. The deal closed. The wealth compounded. Because my identity could now sustain the altitude I had reached. Hashtag why most people stay mentally poor. They never question inherited beliefs. They fear upsetting family or social circles. They mistake nervous system discomfort for bad signs. They never reprogram identity to match their vision. Millionaire thinkers invert this. When my nervous system flinches, I've found my next growth point. Hashtag the millionaire mind detox code. Detect limiting beliefs ruthlessly. Replace emotional triggers deliberately. Anchor identity daily. Surround yourself with expanded wealth models. Confront mental discomfort as growth indicators. Hashtag the brutal wealth truth. You cannot build wealth sustainably with a mind programmed for survival. You must rewire for leadership, scale, and abundance, or your income will forever regress to your emotional comfort zone. By this point, you've seen the truth. Wealth is not random. Wealth is not talent. Wealth is not luck. Wealth is built through internal systems. Systems that govern how you think, control how you act, protect your time, multiply your opportunities, maintain emotional stability. At the highest level, wealth becomes automatic. Not because it's easy, but because your operating system runs on the correct code. Today, we finalize everything you've learned into one cohesive wealth machine. Hashtag the day I understood true wealth automation. Years ago, I sat in a private mastermind with multiple 8- and 9-figure entrepreneurs. What shocked me wasn't their schedules. They weren't busier than me. They weren't scrambling. They weren't firefighting constantly. They simply ran better systems, in their businesses, in their teams, in their personal routines, in their minds. Their wealth machine ran even when they slept. That's when it clicked. The goal isn't to hustle harder. It's to upgrade your operating system until wealth compounds by design. Hashtag the Millionaire Inner Operating System. I studied dozens of high net worth leaders and broke their wealth engine into 5 core modules. Keycap 1 Input Filtering System, Keycap 2 Decision Making System, Keycap 3 Time Allocation System, Keycap 4 Emotional Regulation System, Keycap 5 Leverage Multiplication System. Let's break each one down. Keycap 1 Hashtag Input Filtering System. Control what you consume. Your mind is your greatest wealth asset or liability. Broke people consume news cycles, entertainment gossip, fear narratives, social media envy, low-quality advice. Millionaires install ruthless filters, only data that informs decisions, only mentors who've built what they want, only content that expands frameworks. Garbage in equals garbage decisions, quality in equals wealth decisions. Keycap 2 Hashtag Decision Making System. Control how you choose. Wealthy people don't make more decisions, they make fewer, better ones. They pre-install rules. They avoid emotional flinching. They make decisions once, then execute fully. Their system includes risk management protocols, deal vetting checklists, scalable investment frameworks. Speed plus precision equals compounded wealth velocity. Keycap 3 Hashtag Time Allocation System. Control where you focus. Time is allocated with precision, 80% on wealth compounding activities, 20% on delegation, rest, and strategic oversight. Daily questions. Is this task scalable? Is this decision permanent or repeatable? Is this action building wealth or just maintaining stability? They build leverage daily, not just income. Keycap for Hashtag Emotional Regulation System. Control how you react. Wealth destroys those who lack emotional discipline. Millionaires train stress control under volatility, calm during market shifts, detachment from short-term wins or losses, humility during high growth. Calm is their superpower. They execute breath work, journaling, coaching, and feedback loops religiously. Keycap 5 Hashtag Leverage Multiplication System. Control what multiplies at the highest level. Millionaires stop trading time for money entirely. They focus on capital leverage, investments that compound. People leverage, teams that scale execution. Technology leverage, automation replacing manual tasks. Reputation leverage, credibility attracting higher-level opportunities. The machine keeps building, even when they're resting. Hashtag the power of compounding systems. Once these modules are fully installed, wealth accelerates. Stress drops. Opportunities arrive. Teams perform. Legacy builds itself. The operating system replaces the need for constant willpower. Hashtag the final wealth code. After years of stripping away noise, my personal wealth code crystallized into 7 words: system over hustle, framework over emotion, identity over outcome. System equals repeatable wealth engines. Framework equals decision structures. Identity equals the internal standard that maintains it all. Hashtag the day my wealth became automatic. One morning, I checked my dashboard, revenue growing while I was on vacation. Teams closing deals I never touched. Investments compounding without daily management. New partnerships arriving from re. Before we dive deeper, I've included some of my favorite wealth-building books and resources in the description. These tools have helped thousands master their mindset. Check them out anytime while you listen. Most people never build the machine. They seek motivation over systems. They allow emotions to control actions. They overcomplicate simple principles. They refuse to invest years into compound skill stacking. Millionaire thinkers invert this. I trade short-term ego for long-term systems. Hashtag the brutal wealth truth. If you do not consciously install an operating system, life will default you into survival programming. And survival never produces wealth. Hashtag the full journey you've now completed. Let's recap the exact blueprint you've unlocked. Keycap 1 The truth about why most people stay broke. Keycap 2 The silent emotional killers that drain wealth. Keycap 3 The invisible traps of procrastination and fear. Keycap 4 How toxic comfort zones block wealth expansion. Keycap 5. The destructive force of comparison and envy. Keycap 6. The hidden daily time killers. Keycap 7. The ego traps that silently sabotage growth. Keycap 8. The millionaire discipline switch. What to stop immediately. Keycap 9. The mental detox and reprogramming process. Keycap 10. The full operating system for automatic wealth. You now possess the full blueprint most never receive. Hashtag final charge to you. You don't need another book. You don't need more information. You don't need permission. You need execution. Install the system. Run the machine. Let compound growth do its work. Hashtag the ultimate wealth secret. Wealth is not an event. Wealth is an identity. And that identity is built by daily systems executed ruthlessly over time. Now it's your turn.